Welcome back to Simply Green Radio here on News Radio 1180 WHAM. Brendan Owen in studio with you on this Sunday evening. Simply Green Radio brought to you by Simply Green Energy and Mr. Rooter Plumbing. A website we like to give out, folks, mysimplygreenenergy.com, mysimplygreenenergy.com. A reminder, a programming note to you, if you are looking for the Yankees baseball game, of course, the Yankees taking on the Texas Rangers tonight in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. That game coming up right here at the top of the hour at 8 o'clock here on WHAM. In studio with Maurice Aubry, Mo, the project manager at Simply Green Energy, Pete Morisi, True Story Pete, the project manager for renewable energy at Mr. Rooter Plumbing, specializing in water conservation and its green division. Also, Brenna Hartman, Fixie Chick, and founder of Healthy Homes of Rochester.com. And our guest tonight, Ernie Day, the GM of Global Point Energy. And I will let you guys introduce Ernie.
Yeah, good evening, Ernie. Glad to have you in.
Great to be here. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You know, I'm looking over your bio quickly here, and we'd like to get into a little bit about you and what you do. But I was just thinking, boy, we've had an awful lot of engineers on this show over the last 9 weeks, has it been now?
Mm-hmm.
9 weeks of a lot of engineering stuff. So it's great to have you. And in your bio here, you have your bachelor's in mechanical engineering from RIT.
That's correct.
So you're a local?
Yes.
Awesome. So how long have you been in design and engineering and doing this type of work?
Actually started in engineering well over 30 years ago in manufacturing engineering. Worked up through the ranks at a couple of different facilities and landed a job out at Global Point Technology. And a couple of years ago, we had the opportunity to look into renewable energies. And I was asked if it was something that would be of interest to me to see if we could get something going in terms of a business. And really, the rest of it's history. I started out a couple hours a week, turned it into a couple hours a day, and pretty much consumes a large part of my day every day now.
And that's with the division of Global Point Technologies that you call Global Point Energy?
That is correct, yes.
Tell us a little bit about the products you're engineering over there.
We focus primarily on solar thermal hot water and use our evacuated tube technology. We're proud to provide and supply solar panels plus the only U.S. manufactured evacuated tube. It's something that we have found to be the most efficient evacuated tube on the market.
Ernie, why don't you explain a little bit the difference between an evacuated tube and PV? Because we've actually had a guest on. We were talking about PV a little bit, and so there may be some people that may not be completely, understanding the difference between an evacuated tube versus what PV does. So why don't you maybe just tell us a little bit the difference?
Well, sure. The PV are silicon wafers that actually are energized by the sun and create electricity. Solar thermal hot water actually takes UV and solar sun's rays and takes the energy and turns it into hot water. Essentially, within an evacuated tube, you have a system within itself, being the hot heat pipe.
Okay.
And that, as that heats up, it goes up into what we call a condenser. And then in the manifold of the collector, you have water and glycol generally because of our environment here. And it goes through the manifold and carries the heat away.
Interesting. It almost sounds like the space shuttle.
Well, I don't want us to get confused over simple terminology. Now, evacuated tube technology, that's a new term. Okay, to the general. Now, we're surrounded by evacuated tubes in life now, aren't we? I mean, isn't a light bulb an evacuated tube?
Sure.
Okay, a fluorescent light bulb, an incandescent light bulb.
Yeah.
So all we're really saying when we say evacuated tube is what, Ernie?
That what is done is it's tube within a tube, and they use the evacuate, or there's a vacuum formed between the two tubes. Okay. And this creates the highest R value insulation factor. And that's the reason they're evacuated. They actually will work if that vacuum is compromised, but they're not as efficient.
So if I've got an array of evacuated tubes on a roof in the winter, and it's really cold outside, I'm not going to get that conductance. I'm not going to get that cold air really affecting as much that evacuated tube because it's an evacuated tube.
That is correct.
Okay.
You could think of it like sitting in your car on one of those nice sunshiny winter days, and you got the windows all up and it's hot inside. You don't need your jacket. You don't have your heater on, but because you're inside that car and the sun's rays are coming in, it's heating up everything inside the car, and you're warm.
Right.
Let's see.
222-1180, the number to call if you want to join in on the conversation. Again, that number 222-1180. We do have a caller on hold right now. This may be pertaining to some things that we talked about last week. So, Jason, we apologize if, but I think between the four of you experts around the table, you'll certainly have you'll have an explanation for
I was
Jason.
going to mention, actually, we haven't gotten into it all the way with Ernie yet, but wind power is something that you provide as well.
Oh, okay.
With Global Point Energy. Is that correct?
Yes. What we've done at Global Point Energy is we've decided that to be more of a, what do I want to say, more of a expand our offerings, because the same people that we talk to about solar thermal are interested in PV, are interested in wind, are interested in geo. So aligning yourself and working with other experts in the business just helps enhance your business.
And we actually have a caller on the line that has a question about windmills.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Great.
Great, Jason.
Listen, I live in the city, and I noticed a tool and die company on Emerson Street put up a windmill.
Right.
It's probably only about maybe 20, 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
It looks like a seashell on the outside, but there's a wind turbine in the middle. I was wondering if you guys knew anything about that.
Absolutely. We sure do.
That's our guest from last week,
Jason,
isn't it?
yeah, it's actually a guest from last week. But as Ernie touched on a little bit, I know we've kind of all working in the same circles. But this conversation we had just at lunch the other day, and what did we end up saying that the best way to describe it is a...
Well, to me, it looks like a bat-bitten birdie.
Right.
And contrary to what
exactly.
you would... Is that what it looked like to you?
Yeah. That like almost like a seashell.
Okay.
In the front.
And
Right.
did you know that the wind goes into the narrow end, not the wide scooped end?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where the fans, the propellers are.
I've driven by it a couple times, and it's a small little fan in there. The
Yeah.
wind
Right.
turbine's very small. I don't know how much sound it gives off, but obviously the company put that up there for a reason.
Right.
I'm all for wind and solar, hydroelectricity, but my guys, you guys drove there today. I paid $4.01 today on Lexington Avenue. It's just getting crazy here
Right.
with the gas prices. It's just I'm all for wind, solar, hydroelectricity, stuff like that. But
Hybrid vehicles
man,
right
guys,
now.
I was watching the news today, and I guess they put 10 new drilling posts down in the Gulf there, which I'm glad to see because we're not going to be all driving Chevy Bolts here in the next couple months.
Right.
Those things are like $45,000, $50,000. Some of them. And actually, you know what? I was at a Walmart the other day, and I did see a guy. He drove his in there. I didn't see him drive in there, but he was hooked up to a power pole at Walmart parking lot.
How about that? Well, there's no question, Jason, that that's definitely the thing of the future. But kind of getting back to your windmill, there's actually the proper name is the wind turbine, and there's actually another one. Pretty much the factory that is making them is right there on Mount Reed near Ridgeway Avenue.
Yeah,
it's in
between-
one of the old
Serious?
Kodak buildings, and
Wow.
right next door to Granger's.
Oh, you can see
but
it
you'll
driving
see it.
down Mount
You'll
Reed.
That's right. You see it on if you're driving down Mount Reed. It's on the west side
Between
and,
Lexington and Ridgeway.
Yeah, you'll see one. It's a little bit larger and it's sitting on top of the building. And I was actually by there today, and I'm telling you that thing was just going like the Dickens.
Oh yeah, sure. But what do those things cost?
They start, I believe, it's between 25 and up, depending on what you do. But there is a lot of tax credits, both federal, state,
Right.
and there's some, the net to to a person installing is pretty reasonable. So, you're ever interested?
Well,
just
if
look
you
us
guys
up,
have you guys ever been out to Wayne County at that Harbeck plastic plant?
Yes.
That
Oh
big
yeah.
windmill he's
Yep.
got there?
Yeah.
And I've heard that he's going to build an even bigger one.
Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
All right, then. I got a question
Thanks
for
the
Ernie.
call.
Go ahead.
I got a
Pete.
question. Ernie, can I take this evacuated tube technology? I mean, the best, when I look at it, we say wind tamer looks like a badminton birdie. I look at evacuated tubes, and to be honest, to me, they remind me of fluorescent light bulbs, only because of their shape. Okay, now you said test tube.
Yeah, I tend to look at them and think they look like giant test tubes. I mean, they're approximately 6 feet long, and it's like a tube within a tube. The center tube is coated.
Okay.
And as we talked before, each company has their own proprietary coating, supposedly, but basically it's broke down as like a copper plating, and then a stainless steel spray on the over top of that, and then they put aluminum nitride, which is, and they have secret proprietary formulas that they put on top of that they all argue are the best absorption in terms of getting the most out of the UV rays.
So what are some of the common uses for the evacuated tubes? What applications have you been encountering?
Probably the most common one is DHW, or domestic hot water.
Okay.
These provide so much energy that, for instance, we use a 30-tube collector. A 30-tube collector produces approximately 31,000 BTUs. Now, to break that down, what that means is that you can generate between 48 to 50 gallons of hot water. And that's taking water out of the main.
Is that a day, Ernie?
It's a day. And it's in an 8-hour day of average sunlight, not, blue sky. It's an average, a little bit overcast.
Right. Something that we would have here in our climate.
Right, and that's why I use those numbers, because it's where we live.
Right, and I think it's important that people understand.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking our real time, not in the middle of, not Las Vegas, Nevada, or Scottsdale, Arizona. But those statistics are right here in Rochester, New York.
Right,
exactly.
And am I understanding you right that when you lay out a design, you can either amp that up or you could slow it down by adding tubes, adding storage capability, and vice versa?
Yeah, you can do that. Some companies have, a number of different companies have different multiples of collectors. We tend to stay with just the 30 tube, and the main reason for that is when you talk about 48 to 50 gallons of hot water, that's about average what a household, a family of 4, would use.
That's right.
That's really why I, at this point anyways, in our business, haven't chose to go any smaller. I think the biggest ones on the market are all 32.
Well, I've heard Mo say, there's people that melt the snow on their driveways and in their sidewalks.
Snow melt, sure.
So this is the right technology. Solar thermal, that's the right technology if I wanted to do something like that?
Again, you have to look at each application, Pete. It's a situation where I believe that every application is unique. If you come to me and say I have a car wash and I want to heat my hot water, I have an issue where for liability purposes I want snow melt so I don't have ice buildup around the entrance to the car washes. We can figure that out. Again, knowing.
Well, the thing, and I don't mean to cut you off, Ernie. I apologize.
We do need to cut away for a break soon. So
okay, yeah. This technology is real. It's really working. You were telling me about a car wash up in Toronto that's using your guys' system to melt the snow. So, I mean, their climate, I would say, is at least as cold as ours, if not colder, and it works, and it works well.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
and the owners are happy because not only do they use it for snow melt, but they also makes their chemicals go farther. They use less soap, less wax.
Right.
That kind of
222-1180, the number to call if you want to join in on the conversation. Again, that number 222-1180. This is Simply Green Radio, brought to you by Simply Green Energy and Mr. Reuter Plumbing. In studio with Maurice Aubry, Mo, Pete Morisi, True Story Pete. Also, Brenna Hartman, and our guest tonight, Ernie Day, the GM of Global Point Energy. He specializes in solar, thermal, and evacuated tube collectors. We will be back with more of Simply Green Radio here on News Radio 1180 WHAM.